Welcome to the bold analysis. Someone has asked me a question that I'm going to answer here. Why do you think William Ruto sacrificed Gideon Moi instead of Gideon Moi going to vie for Senate seat and to take a cabinet slot? Or let me ask this question this way. What is the caliber, the profile of Gideon Moi to trigger a cabinet reshuffle? Because there is a clear sign that William Ruto is in panic of losing the 2027 general election. A cabinet reshuffle is looming. And the question is the intent. In this podcast, I'll explain to you why the Gideon Moi and the Railas must be very careful with the statecraft. Something is being cooked. If they watch this podcast, if you share with them, maybe they will understand. Kindly subscribe to our channel. And subscription is absolutely free. The advantage of subscribing is when we publish a video, you'll be getting notifications. And I just realized they have many of you who watch our channel but have not yet subscribed. So can you just confirm whether you've subscribed so that you can subscribe to this channel? Now, before that, I want to say thank you very much, guys. I'm coming back to help us stand in the gap for Mzee Peter Osero. The 75-year-old Mzee from Kisii, Peter Osero, called me that he had blood discharge in the urine. I made plans and he was taken to Kisii Referral Hospital. So several tests were done and the doctors concluded that what they found out was that Peter's left kidney had rotten. Ilikuwa imeoza, and that is why it had also blocked the urinary tract. Now, so I decided, because I've been helping quite a number of these cases, but I decided that we do it a little bit different. So we made plans so that it could be brought here in Nairobi. I went to Kenyatta. I had sorted out SHA because initially I thought SHA would nikilipa SHA sa itamsaidia yote. But nililipa full, akaletwa hapa Nairobi. So better part of Saturday, I made plans and I was in Kenyatta so that we'll do further tests and really whether that was his condition. And after the several tests in Kenyatta, Peter was confirmed kwamba that is the condition and he was in danger. So there is a procedure, surgery procedure that urgently supposed to be done so that they can rescue him. Ladies and gentlemen.
Kevin, asante sana. Mungu atasaidia mimi pamoja na nyinyi. Bwana, mimi najua kwamba nitapona. Ulifanya kazi kubeba mimi mpaka hospitalini. Mungu asaidie wewe na pamoja na mimi pamoja na huyu ndugu yako.
I'm reaching out to you to help us stand in the gap. There is a biopsy that is supposed to be done tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll still be back at Kenyatta so that biopsy is done. Then from there, we shall schedule the surgery this week as soon as possible. I'm looking at probably Tuesday, Kienda sana ni Wednesday. Now, SHA is going to pay bed and some part kidogo ya hiyo surgery. So we need a budget, approximately around 200,000, that will help to support Mzee do that surgery. Takifanywa, I'll be so happy and so glad. Kama Peter, who I also understand is a pastor, ataweza kusaidika, ataweza kuamka from that bed, aendelee kufanya kazi ya Mungu. And when he called me, he was so, I really felt, Kevin, nimesikia, nimekuja huko, nimesikia, nimeona ukifanya, kindly come for me. And that is why I'm also on your behalf, on behalf of this, Mzee, that coalesce to support us. I want to say thank you very much. I did the first video Saturday night, I think almost 3 a.m. As I talk to you, we've already fundraised 34,000, around 34,000, 35,900. So we have a long way. I'm looking at how we can be able to pull it through so that by Tuesday, ikiwezekana Tuesday afanyiwe surgery ama Wednesday afanyiwe surgery, and it will be a big testimony for us as a team. Kidogo kidogo ujeza kibaba. So thank you for what you can donate, what you can partner with, what you can give sacrifice for this Mzee. I believe that it is worth the cost. President Ruto, poaching of Gideon Moi, was clothed as number one, Rift Valley unity of Nandi and Toga and Oso. It was clothed at that. In some platforms, it is clothed as a development deal that we are bringing everyone together to achieve the Singapore dream. But a more pertinent question is emerging, that in the deal that was brokered, Gideon Moi is supposed to benefit from a cabinet reshuffle. And what is more shocking is about the position that is being created for him. It beats the other narrative of we are coming together for development of the country to achieve the Singapore dream. Now, this is what is coming out. William Ruto made an unsuccessful attempt of sending Bishop Yego, Franklin Bett, and a named Moi family lawyer alongside Raymond Moi, Gideon Moi's brother, allegedly pushing for him to join government. According to insiders, this lobby started way back. Immediately, the by-election in Baringo was coming because the state had already gotten wind of, Gideon Moi had already told his insiders that he was going to vie for the Baringo seat, but he was waiting for that by-election, the nomination, the UDA nominations. Then out of that disappointment, he will sprout, then emerge there. And we would actually easily win that seat. So, however, the Nation is reporting exclusively that it is allegedly Raila Odinga who brokered Gideon Moi Ruto meeting in Dubai, and that is what occasioned that deal. Have a listen.
NTV has established that, alongside business interests, a political deal is also taking shape. The arrangement reportedly includes a cabinet reshuffle, which, if confirmed, could give the government a structure resembling the 2008 Grand Coalition between Raila Odinga and the late President Mwai Kibaki. Under the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, currently held by Musalia Mudavadi, 2 new Deputy Prime CS offices could be established, one of which will go to Gideon Moi. The second deputy slot is said to be reserved for a Cabinet Secretary from the Coast region, following negotiations allegedly steered by President Ruto himself.
He's made a lot of attempts to try and reach out to Gideon. Gideon has been very stubborn, and he's tried to use the likes of Bishop Yego and other people who are mutually respected between the two. But it was not working. It's until Raila set up a meeting between them in Abu Dhabi that he managed to bring William and Gideon together before they met in Statehouse.
Moi is also expected to get 5 principal secretary slots and 2 ambassadorial positions, appointments likely to go to his allies in a bid to ease tensions within KANU, where many members remain opposed to the party joining government.
William Ruto knows that with the kind of money that Gideon Moi controls, and with now the goodwill he was enjoying in Baringo, it was going to be very difficult for him to win that election. So he had to do whatever it takes, and he had to make whatever concessions that needed to be made.
With the Moi deal, President Ruto has now mended fences with 3 of his most formidable political and financial rivals from the 2022 presidential race, including Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and now Gideon Moi. Ruto first struck a working relationship with ODM leader Raila Odinga in mid-2024, then reached out to retired President Uhuru Kenyatta before sealing the latest deal with Moi, a move that has drawn sharp criticism from some quarters.
Sasa wale alitudanganya ndio shida ya Kenya. Kila siku ako na familia ya Kenyatta. Sasa ako na familia ya Jaramogi. Leo tunaongea ako na familia ya Moi. Ni muongo si muongo?
William Ruto has never detested dynasties because he's a creation of the dynasty. He was created by President Moi. He went to class under Raila Odinga. He worked under Kibaki, who are basically what he's calling dynasties. So the only issue he had with dynasties is they had refused to accommodate him.
And with 2027 drawing closer, opinion remains divided over whether this reunion will strengthen or weaken the president's bid for re-election.
I watched that video by Nation. A deeper perspective. You know, if you look at, in politics, if you look at what you are being told, you will never understand politics. The politics of this country you'll better understand by questioning what is beyond the headline. And that is what exactly I want us to do. And that is why I asked, nataka mjiulize hii swali. Gideon alileta kura ngapi kwa Ruto? Or let's say, assume that Gideon Moi is joining hands with opposition. How many votes from this, probably even Rift Valley, can Gideon Moi influence? How many? Or, in Baringo County, the last general election, Gideon Moi was on the side of Raila Odinga. How many votes? Did Raila get more votes in Baringo than William Ruto? Do you know that Gideon even lost that seat? Now, question is here. What is causing that cabinet reshuffle? And there's some questions I want you to just ponder around. If a cabinet reshuffle is to happen between broad-based deal Raila and Gideon, which one do you think would have necessitated or is in the caliber of creating a position of Prime Cabinet Secretary? You know why? And creating 2 positions of Prime Cabinet Secretary, that is the Ruto, that is the Raila Kibaki deal of 2009, 2008, the Grand Coalition government. So someone sat somewhere creating a cabinet position, and not just any ordinary cabinet position, a Prime Cabinet Secretary. And just to tell you, this is a big con. Let me use that word. Do you know, Musalia was a Prime Cabinet Secretary with there is something in the law called fuero. Fuero is things you're just trying to gather from. You know, it was a docket. That ministry was a docket without portfolio. It didn't have any. Alikuwa ameenda kwa office ya deputy president, umechukua some funerals, umeleta, unaenda kwa interior, eti coordinating, until it changed. So he was Prime Cabinet Secretary, but CS Foreign Affairs. Now, two are being created. Question. If it is the tribal arithmetic, Gideon Moi comes from Kalenjin land and Ruto comes from Kalenjin land, where would it be? Is it really true that that was it? That it is the Gideon handshake that is triggering that reshuffle? No. That reshuffle was happening. And there is a deeper perspective to it. Second question. Why would a position be created and that position is targeting a region? See, we are not tribal, so we should not give positions on tribal basis or ethnic. Why would someone create a position and say, yeah, this position is created for coastal? And don't say it's still a report. This report came last night. The government has spokesperson and their bloggers and everyone and themselves, and they have the media. If this report is not something themselves they commissioned, then they would have denied it. They would have reacted to it. I've not seen any reaction. And that's why I take that what Nation is saying is not just hearsay. Was it really Gideon Moi? No. But I'll explain that that deal is very dangerous, even for Gideon Moi. I'm going to explain that. I understand Kisi's lot is hanging in the line. Arrival of Matiang'i in the party, vying for presidency, only means that William Ruto may not gather a significant percentage of vote from the Abagusi, and because of that, probably he's doubting why, questioning why he should still give the Abagusi a cabinet slot. If anything, the slots are given based on how you vote. Understand even Atwoli. Atwoli is supposed to go seek the Kotu seat in 2026. And William Ruto is, there is a team already negotiating for Atwoli to relinquish the Kotu leadership and secure a powerful seat in the negotiations for 2027 elections. Is Atwoli going to be Ruto's vice president? Is he going to be Ruto's deputy? He cannot. Is he taking cabinet slot? I don't know. And this tells you the kind of machinations going on. When I listen to the president today on why he's bringing, they said Uhuru, Raila, and Gideon Moi allegedly, and he keeps on dragging Uhuru's name simply to legitimize, to crystallize his narrative. While it is in my position, I've always said in this podcast that those who are appointed to cabinet day after Ichaweri, the names were not forwarded by Uhuru Kenyatta. President Ruto just made his. And I don't seem to establish the nexus between the Singapore dream and the bringing in of Gideon Moi and the rest.
Miaka nyingi tumekwama pale mahali pa umaskini, ukosefu wa kazi, njaa na mambo yale mengine. Imetosha. It's now time for us to elevate our country to the next level. And we have what it takes to take Kenya to that next level. Ndio mimi nawauliza tuungane, tushirikiane. Nimezungumza na viongozi wengi katika taifa letu la Kenya. Nimeongea na wabunge almost 80% of parliament, one-on-one, to explain to them how we are going to move this country from a third world country to a first world country. I have had a conversation with our former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on how we are going to move this country from a third world country to a first world country. I have engaged my brother, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, on how we are going to move this country from a third world country to a first world country. I have engaged many, including Gideon Moi recently, on how we are going to move this country from a third world country to a first world country. And I will continue to engage all the leaders until we come together so that we can take this country to be a first world country in our lifetime, because it is possible. So, ndugu zangu, watu wa taifa letu la Kenya, Mimi nawaomba tushirikiane, tufanye kazi pamoja, na Mungu yule ambaye tunamwamini kwa neema yake, unmerited favor is going to be upon this country, and we are going to move this country to a first world country while we are here. So nawaomba sana, and it is good for me to say this while I am in my home church here in AIC Ziwani. Ya pili, nataka pia niwashukuru ndugu zangu viongozi wa mji wetu wa Nairobi, kutoka governor, wa bunge letu la kitaifa na wabunge pia wa county. Najua tuko na mjadala mkubwa katika mji huu, kwa sababu mji wa Nairobi ni sura ya taifa letu la Kenya. Wageni wengi wanapofika hapa ndivyo watakavyopata kujua vipi Kenya ilivyo. Na sababu hiyo, we must make sure that Nairobi presents the right image of the Republic of Kenya.
Of course, for the last 3 years, the president has been working without the Gideon Moi, without Uhuru Kenyatta, without hao wengine. Hata hawa broad-based walikuja last year. Way back, before this, affordable housing and the share and all that were introduced. But there seemed to be a political infrastructure that is being mobilized. This political infrastructure that the president is mobilizing is not, and I want to say it, is not for the development that he's talking. In terms of what he wants, he's the one talking about it. Sai anaongelea some funds, some infrastructure fund, and there is some other fund. There's some 2 funds that are being proposed. He's the one talking about it. The SHA, the housing levy, the funding model, all these were his ideas. So the political infrastructure that is being mobilized, that the masses are being told that that infrastructure is going to take the Singapore dream, is a big lie. This is what is happening. Why the Gideon Mois must tread very careful. And in fact, Ruto is making a blunder of what is called political amputation. You want to close down that political space by making sure that everyone is there. How about if the masses decide this is not right? But this is it. What is clothed as development with unity is creating some power sharing structure to dupe some gullible politicians. You know why at this level someone is talking about some 2 prime cabinet secretaries? And to create another principle from the coast and another principle, I don't know from where. Then after creating these principles, you use this that in the next general election, there is going to be someone who wants to be a cabinet secretary, 2 prime cabinet secretaries, someone wants to be a vice president, a deputy, a running mate. This is some imaginary things that are being created. Immediately, you get in this, Kenya gets to election, someone will rush to court. And some of these things are even unconstitutional. Some of these things. Let me tell you, I talked to some guy, a very good friend, who has worked in Statehouse before, and tells me that, Kevin, some of these cases are normally taken to court and to see government losing. It is government who sponsors people. So this is being created, then people to sign, oh, I'm going to give you this and that. You get to election, then you realize what you even signed for is not even available. This is some wash-wash politics. In this wash-wash politics, the Gideon Mois must be very careful. The second thing I'm seeing here is this. Ruto is mobilizing a political infrastructure to defend, to float some new punitive and popular policies and projects. You know, let me tell you, I'm seeing, I think, a move to return Adani deal. He's looking for political structure to bring in a Danny deal. And people will be given those dockets. Even these opponents, people will be given those dockets. Can you remember how Raila still bemoans a Danny deal? Something that was castigated and condemned by every Kenyan from every corner of this country. Raila looked very useless when he appeared like he wants to defend Adani, and I'm wondering, like, what's wrong with him? Now, this is the thing. That is why that infrastructure is being mobilized. If it is about unity, the unity, then why are you going for Gideon Moi, Uhuru, Raila? Ukitaka unity, do you need those people? Are those people need unity? Unity ni kuleta watu wote. Unahitaji watu wengine. Unity, and let's go for Rigathi then. If you're looking for influential people, Rigathi is not influential in Mount Kenya. Why don't you go for Rigathi? Now, the other thing I'm seeing here is this, and this is it. There is some ethnic mobilization scheme that is going on in the country so that the president can actually create some campaign team. In fact, one thing he wants to find a way few people he can go to the roof of the car with. And on this, he has decided to float the dynasty versus hustler. So he's going for those dynasties. Why? Why do you think he's going for them? He's going for them because first, they're the ones that will be his political opponents with money. I want you to imagine election where Uhuru, Raila, Moi, Ruto are all on one side. Opposition itakuwa na pesa. And then that ethnic mobilization is what will be clothed as unity. Hey. The cabinet reshuffle was not triggered by Gideon Moi defection. Gideon Moi defection was something. Do you know, anaweza patia Gideon deals, money there, and the story ends. And kwani how many MPs did Kanu get? Can Kanu even stop a bill from passing in the National Assembly? How many governors do Kanu as a party have, if there is any? How many MPs? Few. Less than 20. So it's a very inconsequential. If this was unchecked with Kalonzo, I would understand. With Jubilee, I would understand. Ruto wants to reshuffle the cabinet to respond to camouflage to the political dynamics. And my broad-based fathers and parents who are in, our elders who are in government, must be very careful. I'm seeing them, hata kwanza unajua Ruto si eti ni mjinga, anaangalia nyinyi mko tu huku na mregister watu, na mnasema 2 term. And we're not registering new people. And the numbers in Mount Kenya are already high. Well, instead of you going to register there so that at least you can present and say, yeah, to register. As things stand, if that register, 2 million people are added in that register, and these 2 million people make a conscious decision, Ruto will not be re-elected. Just that. Now, what is being sold as unity is not unity. And at this point, I understand that the Gideon Moi team, one of the members of that team, is simply saying that the report on that proposal from the president is not well appreciated on his end, because that is going to dent him. That is going to dent his reputation, and he might not get away with it. It will be interesting the next few days how things run. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and kindly let's support Mzee Peter.